Welcome back to In Your Face. I'm Nick Hart, joined alongside my co-host
Chad Dirty-On.
And Dylan Fearon.
And we're going to be talking all about the NBA today. And are the Sixers, with all the hype surrounding them, especially now that they have the number one pick, probably going to get Markelle Fultz, are they as good as people say they are? We're also going to be talking about what the Lakers' plan is now that they have Brook Lopez. Does that mean Lonzo Ball? Does that mean Paul George? Does that mean another player? Who knows? And the third thing we're going to be discussing today is down in New Orleans, Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins. How is that going to work after a rough start to the season this year? How is it going to work coming into next year? So first thing we're going to talk about is the Sixers. So, I love the Sixers. I'm a Sixers fan, but I'd say you got Joel Embiid, cornerstone player. Sarge is a solid player. Covington's a solid player. I don't know how much we're going to keep. I don't know Covington's situation. I don't know what they're going to do with him. It's really been kind of opinions both ways of keeping him and letting him go. But we're going to get Markelle Fultz. It seems like it's almost all but certainty. So people are already saying Sixers in the finals in 2 years. Is that really warranted? Because they really didn't do that well this year, even though they had a lot of hype around them. They didn't really. They kind of underperformed. What's your thoughts on it?
I think with getting Markelle Fultz, it's a pretty big deal. We traded up for the number one pick. I think we, as Sixers fans, should expect to get somebody who's going to perform. The Sixers have Joel Embiid. They have Ben Simmons, and then adding Markelle Fultz, I think that's a pretty good trio of young, talented, all top 5 players. What do you think, Dylan?
I think saying they're going to make the finals in 2 years is a little ridiculous. I mean, this is a team that just won 28 games last year. You do bring in a Fultz, Embiid's going to be healthy, Simmons is going to be healthy, so I think it's not too much to ask to win 38 games next year. That still won't get you in the playoffs, just off the cusp of that 8 seed. But I think in two years, playoffs is a goal. To get 43 wins, make the playoffs. And I think in 4 or 5 years, to ask them to make an Eastern Conference Finals isn't too much to ask. When the East is a little weaker than the West. When LeBron's coming towards the end of his career. 4 or 5 years, make the East Finals. That's the goal.
I agree with that.
Definitely. Since some people were jumping the gun on the whole Sixers, bandwagon hype train, which isn't a bad thing. Hopefully they can perform. So we're also next thing we're going to talk about is the Lakers. So as of last night, news that the Lakers shipped D'Angelo Russell off to Brooklyn, and they received Brook Lopez, who is definitely the better of the Lopez brothers. He's been one of the best players in Nets history. I think he has the most career points for Nets players, and he's a very, very solid center, probably a top 10 center in the NBA, definitely. He's an elite scorer. So how are the Lakers going to, roll out for the rest of the season? As many people think they're going to get Lonzo Ball. Some people say Paul George, either this year or next year. So how do you think that's going to play out?
Well, now that D'Angelo Russell has been shipped off to Brooklyn, it opens the doors for Lonzo Ball. Absolutely. They're going to take him with the number 2 pick on Thursday. But it's not about Brook Lopez. It's about Paul George and LeBron James. The Lakers want both stars to come to LA. The only way to get both of them is to create some cap space by dealing Timothy Mozgov and his huge contract that he didn't really, earn in my eyes after playing, one solid playoff series in Cleveland, and D'Angelo Russell's contract that opens the space for 2 max contracts in the 2018 offseason. So there's $64 million in cap space next year for LeBron James and for Paul George. That is the thinking here, along with Alonzo Ball and a Jordan Clarkson and a Brandon Ingram, as the core of that team.
I think the Lakers are a strong young team. I mean, obviously, as we agree on, they're going to add Lonzo Ball with the number 2 pick. I think Paul George definitely deserves to be on a team that can take him somewhere in the playoffs. He can't just keep doing it on his own. I think LeBron might be a little bit of a stretch. I don't know.
I don't think so, though. I disagree. His wife wants to stay in Los Angeles, and why not go and leave Cleveland? You already did your job. You won a championship. You brought a championship to Northeast Ohio. You did what you had to do. Why not leave, especially if your family wants to be out there in Los Angeles, and you had a Paul George? Why not?
Well, yeah. I think LeBron is the one that definitely started this whole trend by forming great relationships with other players on other teams in the NBA. Like he has great relationships with Carmelo Anthony and Chris Paul, and I think he's what started the whole switching teams trend. So I guess it's not that far of a stretch.
Definitely the Lakers also, they have a lot of some players that are role players or starters now that may not be in the future, but there are some solid players. Say Julius Randle, Jordan Clarkson, even Nick Young to an extent. You see these players that they have that really aren't that bad, and they actually could probably be starters on other teams. So depends if they're going to try to like lock on to some marquee like big name free agents. How are they going to be able to keep bench space or keep other positions open and not have to get rid of like all of their players, which can definitely be a big deal hurting team chemistry, having bringing a pretty much whole new team. So the third topic we're going to talk about is after a lukewarm reception to the second half of the season, after the All-Star break, with Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins down in New Orleans, people were when the trade happened, they were talking about, oh my gosh, it's going to be the next huge duo, and it very well could be. Everyone hopes it's going to be two of the most dominant big men in the entire game, but off to a rocky start, pretty average. So how do you guys think it's going to play out for this season upcoming?
I think that Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins are the two best big men in the NBA, and I think that they will dominate next season. I think that with Drew Holiday staying there, I think he's a formidable scorer. He can shoot, he can dribble, he can pass. I think that DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis, if they can work, if they're winning, they're going to be fine emotionally. I don't think that there's going to be any turmoil between who has the ball more if they're winning games, and I don't think that they're going to have any problem with winning games.
I think it takes time to have two star-studded big men mesh together and play well together. You have to remember, DeMarcus Cousins was dealt at the trade deadline to the Pelicans. So it's going to take time for those two guys to play well together. Just any team, it's going to take the core to play well together. We have seen dominant big men play well together. Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon with the Houston Rockets dominated the NBA. Clearly nowadays, the big men are almost a lost cause. You need to be able to shoot. These guys, fortunately, can shoot. So I think give them some time. They only played half a season, a little bit less, honestly, than a full season. Let them play a full season together, and they'll show you that they can make the playoffs. Again, you're in the Western Conference. It's tough to win games, but make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Get in. That's the goal.
I think that, in my opinion, they can be something like David Robinson and Tim Duncan, where I think that Anthony Davis is a very talented young power forward, and Boogie Cousins is a very talented young center. And I think that, like you said, maybe a few years, but I think it will only take 2 or 3 for them to get to the semifinals.
As it stands right now, it looks like New Orleans has a bright future for the Pelicans, and hopefully that they will have a good future and they will have success upcoming. That's what everyone wants to see. Some people to challenge the Warriors in the West. This has been In Your Face with Nick Hart.
Jack Odeon.
And Dylan Fearon.
Thanks for tuning in.